Yeah, exactly. People.
It's like kind of like fashion.
Exactly.
Yeah. Japanese young generation speakers like the artists are like fashion or how the looks or the way how the performance goes.
Yeah.
I want to be like that. I want to be like that.
Exactly.
They don't study out the history or culture or how the way it goes.
Well, some folks do, so yeah. But
it's very picky.
Yeah, and it's been hit and miss. My whole time here, I come across folks. So to answer your question, man, I have yet to really assess a pattern as to how do you like this person, how do you not like it? Like, how do you know who 50 Cent is, but you just like really don't actually know who, let's say, Ice-T is?
One concern that I deal with many different promoters, like from different countries, like British, American, the Japanese, and I cannot help but to feel the barrier in the hip hop culture, because like they got like huge Japanese community that they are not linking up with foreigners. Like in Tokyo, Roppongi is the only place almost for like foreigners, and they're doing well, but they are not linking up with Japanese people, and these people don't know each other.
Yeah, that's a shame.
I
think a lot of it's based on arrogance, ignorance, poor communication skills.
That's sad.
Xenophobia, fear of change.
Yeah. But then walking completely separate.
Yes.
I've kind of run between those two communities because I actually deal on both sides.
I know you do.
Because I live in this country. It makes no sense for me to be like, I gotta find an international spot to do music. I need a place to perform and share my music. I don't care if it's an all Japanese crowd. I don't care if it's an all foreign crowd. You learn the language well enough to communicate with the crowd, to communicate with promoters, to communicate with DJs, and you do what you need to do to make it a larger following instead of they all like my music, they're foreign. They don't even know who I am. I've been here 20 years. And that's where people have fallen, because there's people that have existed in this country. They speak English. They could have learned Japanese at any point, but they're like, I'm American. You learn English, I'm not speaking Japanese. So it's a communication breakdown in the difference between wanting to live someplace and wanting to live in a place. People sit down and they're like, yeah, I want to move to Tokyo. Can you do anything there? Well, I don't speak the language and I don't want to learn it, but I want to live in Tokyo.
Yeah, this is kind of, I'm very, very biased because this is kind of how I started out. I think any persons who are interested in coming to Japan and getting involved, obviously study the language, and if you're going to be here for a while, your first 2 years,
you gotta learn.
This is a personal suggestion, don't even live in Tokyo, because you don't have to really need Japanese to get by. I would suggest living in like in a countryside place, maybe outside of Tokyo. You will need to
I live in the
Japanese.
suburbs in Tokyo.
And that will, don't go
Caliph, you're talking about people who want to actually live
exactly, here. Yeah. Anybody
that's
wants
the
to live
difference.
here. Yeah,
I live in the suburbs in Tokyo. I live with a bunch of Bachans and Chichans. The second you start learning or attempting to learn Japanese, it's on. They will talk to you. And they will talk to you until you're like, either I'm moving out or I'm learning.
Or if not,
I want to know what they're telling me.
Or if you're not looking to live in Japan on an extended basis, of course, make sure you have significant connections with folks who can operate in Japan on all levels of the language: reading, writing, speaking, and listening.
I mean, it's one thing to want to spread your music to the world.
I'm sorry.
It's one thing to want to spread your music to the world, another thing to necessarily, I mean, I respect Japanese culture, of course, but I don't want to live here.
Fair enough, yeah.
But that doesn't mean I don't want to come and make, express myself and make,
well, but
spread
in
my
your
music to
case,
the
you
world.
find people that can help communicate for
Right,
you.
of course I do.
Exactly, yeah.
Because you aren't planning on settling in
Exactly,
to the place.
Yes, yes.
Maybe back in basic topics on
Okay.
this one. You guys agree with guys sometimes play or doing an event with Japanese people actually, in Tokyo, Osaka, or everywhere.
Yeah.
But what's Japanese artists or musicians, DJs try to represent through the hip hop with North American culture or Japanese hip hop cultures? What's they always focus or discussion with you guys through that hip hop?
One of my Japanese MC friends, he acts like.
Do they want to be act like African American people, or do they want to represent? Well, I'm from Nishinari, or I'm from Suminoe, I'm from like Osaka, I'm from Tokyo.
That's a good question. That varies from person to person.
They try to build up their own culture here. I don't really.
Well, like the aforementioned person, his name came up earlier. I actually know him, Shingo Nishinari. He represents Japan. Actually, he was supposed to be here.
I know.
I'm not going to talk about that.
That upsets me that he's not here.
I'll tell you why he's not here later on. Anyway, like he represents, his Nishinari is where he's from. He lives in Nishinari. It's a community here in Osaka. And obviously, his name is Shingo Nishinari, because that's where he's from. At no point in time has Shingo Nishinari ever come off to me as, I want to be black, I want to be African, I want to be black. Shingo Nishinari represents where he's from all the time. So a person like, no, not a person like him, Shingo Nishinari is good for the culture in Japan. But I've come across other folks who are of the other nature, who constantly want to, how can I be black like you?
I've been to a show where some dude tanned his face. He invited me to the show. He got on stage. I'm black. I'm like, no, you are.
So it's to the individual.
Insult to injury, he had somebody at the front of the stage holding his lyrics up.
Ouch. I would love to continue this discussion, but I don't want to be rude to our successors. I believe we want to grow over our time. So we can always continue this dialogue and discussion outside of this room throughout the day. Thank you for your time and your questions. And again, any other questions throughout the day, feel free to ask. But thank you very much.